What does it take to marry the richest man on the planet? Not luck, not looks, not even love. It takes strategy, and Lauren Sanchez had plenty of it. She didn't stumble into Jeff Bezos' orbit by accident. She engineered it, she studied him, she mirrored his passion. She
Jeff Bezos.
Who?
Yeah, who? You run the Bezos Earth Fund, and you kicked off with a $10 billion commitment to combat climate change, and you said it could be done by innovation. We can help. How is that?
Well, there's so many. Climate is one of the biggest crises we're facing right now, and Jeff always says this: we're going to have to invent our way out of this crisis so that we can
whispers of manipulation and a plan that may have been in motion for years. This is not a fairy tale, this is a blueprint. And today we're diving into every chapter of Lauren Sanchez's transformation from a girl born in Albuquerque, New Mexico, to a gatekeeper of Jeff Bezos' empire, born in December 1969. Under the Sagittarius sun, Lauren's early life was a far cry from billionaire circles. Her father, Ray, was a flight instructor, her mother a second-wave feminist activist. From the start, Lauren's life was shaped by discipline, ambition, and duality. She faced undiagnosed dyslexia in school but didn't let that stop her after graduating. She studied communications at El Camino College, then landed a scholarship to the University of Southern California, where she majored in broadcast journalism. In her 20s, she entered the media world, at the very bottom, working as a desk assistant at KCOP-TV in Los Angeles, answering phones, logging tapes, doing grunt work, but even there her charisma and spark stood out. And she quickly moved up, landing on camera roles with Extra, Good Day Law, and Fox Sports. By 1999, she was hosting the debut season of So You Think You Can Dance and building her reputation as an entertainment reporter. But it wasn't just her career that was rising. In 1999, she had her first son, Nico, with NFL star Tony Gonzalez. Then in 2005, she married Hollywood super agent Patrick Whitesell, co-CEO of one of the most powerful talent agencies in the world. Their client list was stacked with names like Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and Denzel Washington. By her mid-30s, Lauren Sanchez was living in a Beverly Hills estate, raising a family, attending red carpet events, and interviewing celebrities on national television. From the outside, it looked like she had made it. But Lauren wasn't done. She wasn't content to coast in her success. At age 46, when most people are thinking about slowing down, she did something radical. She earned her pilot's license and founded Black Ops Aviation, the first female-owned aerial film production company in the United States. She wasn't just flying helicopters for Hollywood film shoots and luxury commercials, she was flying for billionaires and slowly positioning herself in a new kind of orbit in the sky. She got closer to something much bigger. Her new career wasn't random. Aviation wasn't just a passion. It was a strategy, a move toward power, influence, and proximity to the people who ran the world, and it worked. By 2016, Lauren was no longer just a former TV host. She was a licensed pilot, a business owner, and a philanthropist. Her network expanded to include not just actors and agents, but venture capitalists, climate leaders, and tech giants. She began attending exclusive galas, space launches, and high-level environmental events, many of which had one thing in common: Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon and founder of Blue Origin. He was everywhere she was, and it wasn't coincidence. Insiders say Lauren had studied Jeff, his projects, his obsessions, his causes. And by the time mutual friends introduced them in 2018, the foundation was already laid. They had conversations about space, sustainability, aviation, philanthropy, and those conversations quickly turned into something more. By the end of 2018, rumors swirled about how often they were seen together. The press dismissed it at first, assuming it was just business. But then on January 9, 2019, everything exploded. Jeff Bezos announced his divorce from Mackenzie Scott, his wife of 25 years, that same day. The National Enquirer released leaked text messages between Bezos and Sanchez, intimate, emotional, sometimes explicit. It was clear this wasn't just a working relationship. It was an affair, and the fallout was immediate. Mackenzie Scott walked away with 25% of Amazon shares, at the time worth over $38 billion, making her the third richest woman on earth. Jeff retained control of Amazon, Blue Origin, and The Washington Post, while Lauren quietly separated from Patrick Whitesell, the very man who had reportedly introduced her to Bezos in the first place. By 2020, Lauren and Jeff were living together, appearing at public events as a couple and posting curated glimpses of their life on social media. But the question remained: was this true love? Or was it leverage? Was Lauren the perfect match or the perfect strategy? She wasn't just replacing a wife, she was redefining the role entirely, because when you compare Mackenzie Scott and Lauren Sanchez, you see two completely different blueprints. For power, Mackenzie was the behind-the-scenes genius who edited Jeff's early business plan, helped launch Amazon, raised their 4 children, and stayed out of the spotlight after the divorce. She donated over $14 billion to social justice, education, and climate causes, doing it all quietly, without PR campaigns. Lauren, on the other hand, stepped into the spotlight with stilettos. She co-chairs the Bezos Earth Fund. She speaks at global summits. She shows up at the Met Gala in couture. She became the face of the new Jeff Bezos era: bold, glamorous, high visibility. And with that came the critics. Was she genuine, or was she playing a game? Did Bezos trade the quiet brilliance of Mackenzie for the glamour of a woman who understood the optics of power better than anyone?
And I was like, oh, this poor little fly. My kids were like, oh, but think about what this fly can see. They're gonna go back and like, Mom, you're not gonna believe what happened. Anyway, in that moment, I literally looked at my kids and I go, this would make a great children's book. The fly has a lot of difficulties in school.
Everything has the markings of a long-term strategy executed with precision and patience. So by the time Lauren Sánchez and Jeff Bezos made their relationship official in the public eye, she was already being repositioned as more than a girlfriend, more than a partner. She was becoming a brand, and with that came one of the most meticulously staged weddings the world has ever seen. Set in Venice, Italy in June 2025, their ceremony was anything but ordinary. It wasn't just a wedding, it was a message, a display of power, wealth, access, and legacy. The venue, a 15th century palazzo along the Grand Canal, wasn't just luxurious, it was nearly impossible to reserve, unless you had the kind of influence that could shift policy or headlines. The guest list was filled with billionaires, royals, and media moguls, flown in by private jets and escorted by gondolas under maximum security. The dress, custom Dolce & Gabbana couture, reportedly priced at over $3 million. Every inch hand-stitched, flown in separately, with a glam team directly from Milan Fashion Week. The floral arrangements, orchids imported from Thailand, crystal stemware by Baccarat, and a wedding cake over 8 feet tall, dusted in edible gold. But as the photos slowly leaked, carefully curated and published only through approved outlets like Vogue and Vanity Fair, the internet noticed something missing. Where were the kids? Not one photo showed Lauren's children, not one glimpse of Bezos's 4 kids, not a single shot of a smiling blended family. And that silence was louder than any headline. Insiders began whispering. Did the children disapprove? Were they deliberately kept away? Or was this not truly a personal celebration but a staged media production? Then came the twist. Just days later, TMZ broke the story that Bezos and Sánchez had actually been legally married weeks earlier in Florida, quietly, privately, with no cameras, no couture, and no fanfare. This extravagant Venetian affair wasn't legally binding, it was symbolic, and more importantly, it was strategic, because the very same week rumors surfaced that Bezos was preparing to make a move on acquiring Condé Nast, the media empire that owns Vogue, Vanity Fair, GQ, and more. The wedding wasn't just a celebration. It was a performance, one that aligned Lauren visually and socially with the fashion elite, just in time for her husband to make a play for one of the most powerful publishing institutions on earth. Was it love, or was it legacy?
Who could barely read. Like, I was the girl in class that when they called on me to read, I'd start sweating. I'd freak out. Yeah. And then, I'd try to read it before, and hopefully I didn't have to read out loud. And then I started reading out loud for a living. I mean, it literally changed my life. And that's the whole point of the book. It's about this little fly who's bad at school and kind of
and legally airtight agreements. And Billionaire history insiders joke that it reads more like a Silicon Valley acquisition deal than a wedding contract. And here's what they say: it includes Lauren has no stake in Amazon, Blue Origin, or the Washington Post, zero claim to Bezos's 3 flagship empires. No matter what happens, even if they divorce, she walks away with a lifestyle, not ownership. And there's more. The prenup reportedly contains sunset clauses that increase her payout the longer the marriage lasts, but only if he initiates the split. If she leaves early, she walks away with the bare minimum, designed to prevent any quick exits or strategic separations. And then there's the stipend. Lauren allegedly receives $1 million per year allowance, performance based, not automatic. She's compensated like a brand ambassador for the marriage, expected to attend events, represent causes, elevate public image, and maintain a specific presence in the media. In short, she's working the role. And then you have the non-disclosure clause, perhaps the most significant aspect: no memoirs, no interviews, no Netflix documentaries, no tell-alls. Under any circumstances for life, she's legally forbidden from sharing any private details about Bezos, their life, or their marriage. And that silence isn't just protection, it's power. Because when information becomes currency, silence becomes leverage, and Jeff Bezos made sure this union couldn't cost him a second fortune. Not financially, not reputationally, not strategically so, while the world was gawking at a 30-carat pink diamond ring estimated between $3 to $5 million they missed. What it actually represented not romance but negotiation. And it worked because while the contract was protecting Bezos' assets, it was also elevating Lauren's position. She may not own a piece of Amazon, but she's living like she owns the world residences in Miami, Maui, and Beverly Hills private jets, fashion houses on speed dial, front row seats at couture shows and global summits, where she's introduced not as Mrs. Bezos but as co-chair of a multi-billion-dollar Earth Fund. Her lifestyle is valued in the hundreds of millions even if her net worth remains far below, and that's the power of proximity. Because when you control access to the billionaire, you don't need to own the empire to run the gate. Lauren's wealth before Bezos was already considerable, estimated between $25 to $30 million earned through TV contracts, real estate investments, brand deals, and of course her marriage to Patrick Whitesell, whose net worth was also in the hundreds of millions. She retained luxury property after their 2019 divorce, and her business Black Ops Aviation earned top dollar from Hollywood studios, real estate developers, and private clients. As the first female-owned aerial film company in America, she was already making money and headlines, but not the kind that turned you into a global figure. That only happened once she rebranded completely. And that rebrand wasn't just strategic, it was surgical. Lauren Sanchez of the early 2000s looked nothing like the woman who married Bezos in 2025, and that's not a judgment. It's an observation, because in elite circles reinvention is a currency, and Lauren spent plenty. She updated her entire look, and we're not just talking wardrobe. We're talking about the full Hollywood refresh. Plastic surgeons who haven't treated her but frequently speculate anonymously estimate she's spent upwards of $400,000 over the years on facial and body procedures, including eye lifts, nose contouring, jaw sculpting, fillers, lip augmentation, and laser resurfacing. She went from TV host glam to billionaire couture, from reality red carpets to Vogue covers. And that transition didn't just change how she looked, it changed where she was invited and who took her seriously, because in elite fashion circles, looks our language, and Lauren finally spoke fluently. The shift wasn't subtle. Her curls were replaced by sleek silhouettes, her fitted dresses swapped for architectural gowns, styled by industry insiders with direct lines to Anna Wintour herself, the queen of Vogue, the gatekeeper of taste and culture. And Lauren wasn't just being styled, she was being positioned, and soon she began appearing at the Met Gala, the holy grail of fashion status, where the guest list is curated not by wealth alone, but by relevance, presence, and strategy. And then came the whispers that Lauren wasn't just attending, she was being courted, that Anna Wintour in her final years at Vogue was rumored to be building alliances for the future, and that Lauren was on the list. Was it absurd? Was it strategic? Was it a joke? Or was it the ultimate power move? Insiders debated, longtime fashion editors scoffed. How could a former entertainment reporter turned helicopter pilot become a serious figure in high fashion? But there she was, seated next to first ladies, fashion icons, global leaders, and then gracing the cover of Vogue in her wedding gown, a cover that doesn't happen without Anna's approval. And that's when everything changed. Because once you're on the cover of Vogue, and once your name is whispered alongside Anna Wintour's in conversations about the future of fashion, you're no longer just a celebrity girlfriend or even a billionaire's wife, you're a symbol. And Lauren Sanchez was becoming exactly that, a symbol of modern female reinvention, power, rebranding, and calculated ascension. But even that wasn't enough, because the next rumor was the most explosive of all. That Jeff Bezos was eyeing the acquisition of Condé Nast, the parent company of Vogue, Vanity Fair, GQ, and more. Insiders whispered it wasn't just business, it was personal, it was legacy, and it was a gift to Lauren, one that would cement her as a permanent fixture in elite media and fashion circles, a gift that would outlast marriages, headlines, and trends if it happens. And that's still a big if. It would mean Lauren doesn't just attend the Met Gala, she helps decide who gets invited. She doesn't just appear in the pages of Vogue, she helps shape its direction. And if that sounds like a fantasy, consider this: Bezos already owns the Washington Post. He already reshaped space exploration through Blue Origin. And now the most whispered move of all, taking control of the most prestigious cultural institution in print media and handing influence to the woman who went from regional anchor to power queen of America, not through scandal, not through accident, but through relentless positioning. And let's not forget, this transformation wasn't overnight. It took decades of slow, meticulous branding, networking, aligning, leveraging, and most importantly, staying ready when opportunity arrived. Lauren was once seen as a footnote to Bezos' story. Now she's a storyline of her own. And every part of her new life is curated for impact, from her cousins to her couture She co-chairs the Bezos Earth Fund, helping direct $10 billion toward environmental efforts, flying around the globe to advocate for climate policy while also being photographed in gowns worth six figures. The contrast isn't lost on anyone. But that contradiction is also part of the new elite narrative. You can be glamorous and philanthropic, stylish and strategic. You can fly private to a climate summit if you're using that flight to broker billion-dollar commitments. And Lauren understands that duality better than almost anyone. She speaks fluent Billionaire. She understands the media and she's rewritten her presence to match the moment. But what comes next is what truly matters. Because behind the scenes, Lauren is said to be building more than an image, she's building influence. She's already hosting private salons with women in media and politics, creating what some insiders call a soft power coalition. Her name is showing up more often on donor lists behind major events. She's appearing at forums once reserved for global leaders, not TV hosts. And she's even started whispering about her own foundation separate from Jeff, something distinctly hers, not a side note, not an accessory, not a plus one. And this may be her boldest move yet, to step from beside the man who changed retail, media and space and begin to shape her own platform, her own vision, her own legacy. Because in elite circles, wealth gets you into the room, but presence keeps you there. And power is what allows you to shape what happens next. And make no mistake, Lauren Sánchez has power now, not the kind you inherit or stumble into, but the kind you cultivate over time. And behind every photo, every press appearance, every headline, every dress, there's a strategy, and that strategy has worked. Because today she is a fixture in the elite landscape and no one is laughing anymore. In fact, some are trying to copy her trajectory, rebrand their image, align with causes, up their media training, hire better stylists, get in the right room, say the right things, marry the right names. But few will ever pull it off with the same precision. Because most people aren't willing to take the long road, the one filled with pivots, mistakes, media flops and reputational risks. But Lauren did, and for every tabloid headline, every Twitter joke, every side eye at a gala, she kept climbing. And now she's not just in the room, she might soon own the building. And this is the part where we stop and ask, what does it all mean? What does it take to go from a regional TV host to potentially one of the most influential women in fashion, media and philanthropy? The answer is everything. It takes every decision, every upgrade, every relationship, every contract, every compromise, every headline and every reinvention. It takes a willingness to be underestimated. It takes learning when to speak and when to remain silent, when to charm and when to negotiate. It takes not just dating a billionaire, but making yourself the most valuable partner in his portfolio. And whether you admire it or resent it, you have to respect the game, because no one plays it better than Lauren Sánchez. And we're not even at the final chapter yet. Because as whispers swirl about her next steps, from launching a women's platform to hosting her own media summit or even leading her own network initiative, the truth is Lauren has options, and when a woman has options, she has leverage. And that is the ultimate power. And leverage is what Lauren Sánchez has built quietly, steadily, and without apology as of today. Her orbit includes global leaders, fashion empires, tech giants, Hollywood insiders, and philanthropic powerhouses. But what's more impressive is how she holds that orbit without needing to dominate the room. She doesn't have to speak the loudest or push the hardest. She simply shows up aligned, styled, informed, and powerful enough that others take notice. And that's a shift in how we understand influence. It's no longer just about controlling the company, it's about controlling the narrative. And Lauren controls hers masterfully. She has turned the media's obsession with her into fuel, not fear. She's reframed every scandal as a stepping stone, every leaked photo as a brand moment, every appearance as a strategic move. And while others flail for attention, she curates hers with surgical precision. In 2024, her wedding to Jeff Bezos became more than an event. It was a template and operations manual for the modern elite relationship, blending media, diplomacy, aesthetics, and message control in one orchestrated performance. It was luxury as strategy. And the whole world watched and reacted, but they didn't control the story, she did. And behind the scenes, sources say Lauren is involved in more than just climate initiatives and fashion events. She's now in conversations about female leadership in aerospace development, education reform, and global women's equity programs, reportedly funding initiatives under the radar with partners across the UAE, Singapore, and France. And while Bezos is still the public face of space tech and innovation, Lauren is carving out a new lane, one rooted in soft power, influence, and visibility across causes that historically lacked female billionaire involvement. This isn't charity. This is policy-adjacent influence, the kind that affects where money flows, who gets a seat at which summit, who gets media coverage, and how quickly. And her access helps because she's not just attending the parties anymore, she's helping decide who gets invited. And that's when you know the power dynamic has shifted, because the real elite don't just appear, They gatekeep, they broker, they shape, and Lauren has stepped fully into that role. And if you're wondering if the old world of wealth is pushing back, the answer is yes. And no, some legacy elites still scoff at her origins, her entertainment background, her aesthetic reinvention, but others, especially the next generation of tech royalty and influencer turned entrepreneurs, see her as a model of what's possible. She proved that you don't have to be born into power to acquire it, and you don't have to apologize for wanting it either. And that message is resonating, especially among women who watched her evolve from a morning anchor in Los Angeles to a co-author of billion-dollar initiatives in Davos and Dubai. And this evolution is no accident. Every stage was calculated, every alliance was meaningful, and every move was made with the long game in mind. So what happens next? Where does a woman like Lauren Sanchez go when she's already conquered media, aviation, fashion, and philanthropy? Well, sources close to her team hint at a new project, something global, scalable, and legacy-driven, a media-forward platform that merges storytelling, female leadership, climate awareness, and style, perhaps her own foundation, or even her own documentary series, giving unprecedented access to her world and redefining what influence looks like in the billionaire class. Think masterclass meets Vogue meets philanthropy summit. And if that sounds ambitious, that's the point. She's always aimed higher than people expected, and that's why she keeps winning, because Lauren Sanchez doesn't just want status, she wants structure. She doesn't want to be remembered as a billionaire's wife. She wants to be remembered as a strategist, a force, a woman who turned the system to her advantage without ever breaking a sweat. And here's the secret that no one wants to admit she already has. When she shows up to the Met Gala, she's not hoping to be photographed, she's testing who comes over to speak first. When she appears at climate summits, she's not just repeating Bezos' talking points, she's co-writing the next phase of messaging. When she steps on a stage, she's no longer reading lines from a teleprompter. She's speaking as a brand and a force with real global implications. And the media may still be catching up to this, but those in the rooms with her already understand it. Lauren Sanchez is no longer climbing, she's building. And what she's building has the potential to outlive the tabloids, the weddings, the speculation, and the sparkle, because real influence isn't flashy, it's strategic, it's layered, it's quiet. And it works. And the next time you see her on a red carpet or in a panel, or featured in a glossy spread, understand this: you're not watching a woman caught in the moment, you're watching a woman who created it. Every dress, every speech, every alliance, every deal is part of a larger arc, and we are still in the middle of it. And if you think it ends with fashion or media or even philanthropy, you haven't been paying attention, because there's still one more industry Lauren Sanchez is rumored to be eyeing. And it might be the boldest pivot yet: politics. Politics is the final frontier for women like Lauren Sanchez, and insiders are already whispering that her calculated rise, her philanthropic profile, her media savvy, and her proximity to the world's richest man are more than just coincidental steps in a glamorous life. They are foundational elements in a larger bid for real global influence. One source close to a former campaign strategist noted that Lauren has been quietly attending closed-door policy dinners across DC and Silicon Valley for over a year now, meetings not for photo ops, but for introductions to former ambassadors, State Department aides, and tech regulation experts. And she's not walking in with a publicist, she's walking in with a purpose. Some believe she's laying groundwork for a future role as a UN Goodwill ambassador. Others suggest something bolder and more domestic: the possibility of a Senate run or high-profile appointment to an international commission related to climate equity or media transparency. And while that may sound dramatic, consider this: Jeff Bezos has made no secret of wanting influence, not just in commerce or space, but in global diplomacy. And Lauren has proven herself the ideal cultural bridge. She speaks fashion and tech, entertainment and policy. She can host Anna Wintour one day and meet with a Saudi delegation the next. She's a media-trained powerhouse with helicopter license and a philanthropic portfolio. And she's married to a man with the resources to bankroll an entire political ecosystem. So what's stopping her? Absolutely nothing, because the gatekeepers who once mocked her are now calling her for favors. The editors who once ignored her are placing her on their covers, and the institutions that once whispered about her ambition now praise it as vision. Even Bezos's inner circle, which once questioned her influence, reportedly now defers to her on issues of narrative, tone, brand, and media rollout. Because while Jeff may build rockets, Lauren controls gravity. She draws people in and she decides what orbits what. And if you think that's an exaggeration, just look at the data. Social media engagement around her appearances regularly outperform legacy billionaires. Her style guides are bookmarked by fashion insiders. Her quotes from philanthropic panels are cited in climate newsletters. And her wedding images generated more impressions than some entire award seasons. And this isn't just noise, this is architecture. She's building herself into something. More than a socialite, more than a pilot, more than a partner, she's crafting a new archetype. The billionaire wife 20, and this version doesn't wait in the wings, she leads, she hosts. She defines culture and she shifts markets, and if she does step into politics, it won't be with a traditional party line. It'll be branded, visionary, disruptive, stylish, and absolutely intentional. Because everything Lauren Sanchez has done since 2018 has been intentional, from the gala appearances to the wardrobe changes, from the family privacy to the media saturation, from the philanthropic leadership to the rumored meetings with European commissioners and African Union climate chiefs. She is redefining what soft power looks like, and she's doing it with a glam team, not a campaign bus yet. And before you laugh off the idea of a former TV host turned political figure, remember this history is filled with underestimated women who transformed exposure into equity. Jacqueline Kennedy made First Lady a global role. Oprah built a media network and changed legislation. Kim Kardashian passed criminal justice reform policy before earning a law license, and now Lauren Sanchez could be next. Not because she has all the answers, but because she asks the right people, listens, reshapes, and then delivers with poise, precision, and polish. And that is why she's not just the billionaire bride, she's a case study in ascension, in legacy, and image control, and in calculated modern power. And no matter what happens next, whether it's a Vogue-backed nonprofit or a United Nations advisory seat, or even a future memoir that rewrites the last 5 years from her lens, she will write it not as a woman attached to a fortune, but as one who orchestrated her own. And maybe that's the secret. Maybe this was never about marrying the richest man in the world. Maybe it was about learning from him, mirroring his methods, and creating a new empire that speaks in invitations, glimmers, and camera flashes, and reshapes entire industries without a single press release. And that is what it truly takes. Not to marry power, but to become it. This video covers legal allegations in a news context. All claims are from official filings, and no guilt is implied until proven in court. Please keep all discussions respectful. Allegations are not facts until proven in court.